Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. She is your real estate voice. It's the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner broker of Your Home Sold Realty and the host of the program. Now, Barb, we know that most people don't sell homes very often, but what is it that home sellers want out of their real estate agents when they do want to sell a home?
Well, it's no longer the easy button to sell a home right now. The challenge is for most home sellers is just getting it sold. That's mostly what they want. They want the certainty of this thing going on. Right now, the average days on market is showing a lot of pain in the process. So Douglas and El Paso counties probably are averaging 115 days on the market before they get a contract. Teller County, 159 days, Pueblo, 122 days. And it's really the higher interest rates that create demand destruction. There are buyers out there, things are still selling, but it's just they're having to really work at it to be able to afford it. And a lot of these buyers agents, from what I've seen on offers on my listings, is it's almost like they are expecting a discount, and they're expecting the seller to pay closing costs, and they're expecting the seller to pay their agent a 3% commission. And if they don't get it, they're like spoiled kids, it's like, well, but the market, and look how long it's been on the market. I'm like, I'm not the decision maker, guys. You can try to convince me all you want, but it is what it is. And so what we're seeing is we've got fewer buyers making offers, mostly because a lot of times they might be a serious buyer. They're just finding something they like better somewhere else. So there's only two ways to solve that issue. One is to buy the house that they love, make their best offer, or I don't know where I was going here with that statement. Hang on a second. Oh, premium priced homes. So I would say if home sellers overprice their homes, it kind of sets them up for failure. And a lot of times there's really a lack of skill or knowledge on the seller's part about whether or not it's priced right. Some people price their home based on how much they want to put in their pocket. And I'll tell them, look, I'd love to get you $1 million or more, but at the end of the day, it's the market that decides the price. And so the only way you can figure that out is look at historic sales, look at competition. And so I think most home sellers appreciate that education, and they can make good decisions based on that. So now I have some questions for you, Richard. I've got this little "Do you think it's fun" segment. So do
Okay.
you think it's fun for home sellers to spend thousands of dollars fixing up their house for their future buyer?
That does not sound like fun, but it might be necessary, I suppose, under some circumstances. Sometimes you just have to do what you need to get a better price. What's the answer?
Isn't For most home sellers, it's not fun. In fact, they'll say sometimes when they do it, man, I always wanted to do that. Now I'm, getting my buyer's gonna take advantage of it instead of me. Also, do you think it's fun for them to have all these strangers traipsing through their house and judging their home?
There is no question. There is nothing fun about that at all, Barb.
No. And I think, a lot of times the agents make mistakes. They leave doors unlocked, they leave lights on, they use the restroom, they leave the combo in the combo box, and they don't spin the dial. Keys right there for all to see. This is constant that goes, the carelessness that happens during showings. And all I can do is just try to console my sellers when it happens. And do you think it's fun when agents schedule an appointment? So I have one seller recently that has a dog that doesn't like anybody but his owner. And so she has to grab the dog, put the dog in the car, and go sit in the car for the scheduled showing. So that by itself is not fun. But what if the agent doesn't show, or the agent shows up early, or the agent shows up late? All those things present a problem. when you have a puppy that's going to come over the fence and sound very aggressive, it also hurts the showing experience. So a lot of times these agents, and I get it. I was showing houses yesterday. Um, Different buyers dwell in the homes for longer periods of times than what anybody could really anticipate. Sometimes they're there for a long time, even though they don't like the house. Sometimes they're there for a long time just because they would like to see the whole thing, even though it's not the right house for them. So it's hard to schedule up, a half dozen homes and be really accurate about the timing, especially of the subsequent properties. So, like yesterday, I was trying to reschedule to keep that seller informed. Okay, we can't do it at 11. We're going to do it at 1:30. And they got tired of messing with me. So they said no. I'm like, okay, moving on, going to a new house. So that's a problem. Do you think it's fun for sellers to worry about um, buyers coming through their house that may not be able to buy their home?
There is nothing fun about that. And not only is some of this stuff not fun, it seems to me that it's a legitimate security risk.
Yeah, but it happens all the time. There's actually no um, criteria to be a real estate agent. There's no how to show a house. There's no obligation on the agent's part to substantiate that the buyer qualifies for a loan. Most of them meet the buyers at the door, open the door, and hope and pray it works out, right? That's very, very common still to this day, even though the National Association made up a rule that said, you have to have an agreement signed with your buyer before you show. But that's only about agent commission. That's not about the qualification of the buyer. I have seen buyers during my open house jumping on the seller's beds. I've seen them use the restrooms and not flush, which is really irritating, especially if the house is winterized. I've seen them, especially with the doors unlocked and not configuring the lights as requested. And they get distracted. They're supposed to be focused on their buyer, right? And trying to encourage their buyer to get to the finish line. But it's not really fun when they do things like, the seller has to have the home show ready every day and be ready to show. That's what the agents will tell them. You got to be ready to show at any time with very short notice. And it is painful. Most home sellers will tell me, I hate this part of the process. I don't like people coming through my house. I don't like that sometimes they don't show, they don't lock doors. And the biggest shock to me, if they have cameras in the house, is they will actually hear the agents criticizing the home in front of their buyers. It's like, don't they want to sell it? Why are they doing that? So all these kind of processes are really irritating for home sellers. And the ones that have experience do it know exactly how bad it could be. Do you think it's fun for sellers if they have their house all packed up, ready to go, and all of a sudden they find out either they want a lot of ridiculous repairs or, oops, sorry, the lender messed up, they can't qualify. They're walking away. And you got to start over.
It's not fun. It sounds like it's bordering on a nightmare, to be honest.
It can be a nightmare. It absolutely can be a nightmare. That's why it's so important to hire somebody that takes the time to actually vet that buyer to make sure by talking to the lender, deep diving with the lender to find out, can they really get to the finish line? So moving all by itself is a difficult project. But then when you have all these people and pieces, parts, and demands going on, it can be really, really frustrating. Let's see what else. So I think in general, what is fun for home sellers, and usually they love me when I bring a contract that they will accept. That's their happy space. All right, we're getting this done. I like this offer. Let's go. Let's get it done. But then stuff happens, and it sometimes will go downhill from there, mostly with inspections, sometimes with appraisals, and sometimes with just crazy agent stuff that demand things that aren't reasonable. So really the number one service that home sellers want help from for their agents is competitive pricing, make sure it's priced right. They want communication. I took over a listing for one agent, and this has happened really multiple times where The seller said, well, I just went off what the agent said. The agent said my home would sell for this much. And month after month after month went by. It did not sell. And then the agent just kind of ghosted them, which shouldn't be happening. Should be engaging all the time to try to get the project done. And that means getting a contract. It starts with getting a contract. They also want to know what to do to get the house ready for sale. There's certain improvements in a house that even though they're kind of nice to have, the buyers won't pay for it. They're not going to pay extra money if it has a tankless water heater. They're not going to pay extra money if it has a solar system, although those are nice to have things. It's not going to make the buyer stroke a check for the cost of those systems. In general, they just don't want to fix anything. They don't want to inherit any deferred maintenance issues. So at the end of the day, the buyer decides what house that they're going to buy. And for the home seller, you need to focus on presenting the home to give them the whole package. Curb appeal, great living room, great kitchen, updated baths, and updated flooring. Usually that is enough to make it work as long as it's priced right. And so, it's kind of weird, but I don't understand why agents will go in and criticize a home, except that they're trying to position themselves as an expert. But it must not be true, because according to Zillow, 71% of agents sold 0 homes last year. That's a problem. So at the end of the day, you really want somebody, sellers want somebody that understands how to help them get ready for the sale and provide them good advice through the whole process. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show. And we're talking about what home sellers want from their agents. And next up, we're going to talk about really why hiring an agent that has buyers is one of those things that can really help the home seller know that they're certain that they're going to get to the finish line in the process. Richard?
Barb, we're discussing what home sellers most want from their agents. So, what should home sellers expect from their agents in a market like this one?
Well, I think most of them really expect, to have certainty that it's going to go through. Almost every seller I talk to wants the most money, right? That's a given. But how do you get the most money? A lot of buyers won't inherit problems or work to do. According to NAR, National Association of Realtors, 40% of home buyers will pass on a home that needs work. So if you want top dollar, you got to get the work done. And it's better to do that before you go on the market. Also, is there a buyer? Maybe there's a cash buyer. Maybe we can leverage the cash buyers against the live in the home buyers to get the most money. All these things are about the agent really communicating the whole entire process. But it doesn't always happen. There's no training, there's no standardization. A majority of agents will go get a listing, they'll put the pictures up there and they post and just hope somebody will make an offer, and they just kind of vanish. So that's why it's really, really critical that all the stars align when you do sell a house, because the consumers are expecting marketing, negotiation, handling objections, closing, and processing them to the finish line to get it done. That's how you make it happen. And we help people do that week in and week out. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of making a move, you can reach Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing how to sell a home that you have inherited. Stay tuned for that.